Hey friends, and welcome back to the channel. Today is a new series and it is my very first collaboration. So if you'd like to see more, then stay tuned. Hey friends, thanks for joining us. If you're new here, this is EllisFamLife, #autistictwins, where we like to do three things. We want to raise, relate, and educate. Raise awareness and acceptance for nonverbal autism, relate to you and the autistic person in your life, and educate by sharing examples and stories of our life with nonverbal autistic twins, Alex and Will. So today's video is really special, and I'm really excited about today's interview because it's my very first collaboration, and I sat down on Easter Sunday with a dear friend and talked about her autism story. So she gets to share her story and you get to see what it's like, especially in this story for someone who has been dealing with this for almost 20 years, and the paths that have been forged for people like us who are just starting on our autism journey. Without further ado, let's jump into part 3 of our collaborative interview with Kim Poston. I hope y'all enjoy.
He was not verbal yet, so it was before he was 3. In addition to, one of his sensory things was the clippers, the vibrations of the clippers.
Oh, yes.
Like, okay, he had a thing about loud noises, so that was already a strike against them. But then the buzzing against the skin, just put him into orbit.
I feel your pain.
Chrissy's husband, Christopher, had an uncle who cut hair.
Oh, yeah.
And he had this little tiny barber shop out behind his house, and we would go see Uncle Harold. And Brendan, my older son, who literally prayed Ellis into being, would go first, and he would say, "Look, Ellis, it doesn't hurt." And he was always such a good big brother.
Yeah.
Well, when he was little, but then he hit teen years, and it was like, oh, okay, not so much. You know, I love you, Brendan. You also know it's true because you're the one who's told me the stories. But he would go first so that Ellis could see, you know, it's all okay. And Uncle Harold would joke around with him a little bit. He kept this jar of suckers, and I would give Ellis a sucker, and he got to keep it as long as he let Uncle Harold cut his hair. If he tried to move the scissors away or tried to move away from the scissors, I'd take the sucker. And yes, I absolutely 100% bribed him. I feel no shame or regret. Because he needed the freaking haircut, trust me.
It was a way to get him to focus.
Well, and it gave him something else to focus on.
To take away from that
the
sensory
input.
Yeah.
It's not like we went once a week, like every 3 months.
I know. That's about all you could.
Okay, so by the end of the haircut, you were talking about like the peppermint. To what?
After the haircut.
Yeah, after the haircut, he would have these dum-dum suckers, and like if he had, you know, the chocolate one, he would have brown spit and hair.
Oh!
The hair clippings just when I say everywhere,
I know.
I mean everywhere. And everything that he touched was then covered in hair clippings and drool. That was colored whatever flavor.
Whatever flavor he had. Oh, nasty.
But
you do what you gotta do.
But you know what? Uncle Harold was kind.
He really was.
And he was understanding. And he never, even on Ellis's worst days, he never lost his patience with him. And yeah, we really, really loved Uncle Harold.
Yeah. Okay, so
Girl, I can
we
talk
knew.
forever.
I know, right? There's just a good story, and people need to know.
People do need to know.
People need to know. They need to be able to compare. And there's so many questions I want to ask you, but I got to try to focus.
Well,
okay.
It was also a blessing that he was not diagnosed until
Why do
he
you
was
say
16.
that?
Chrissy and I had a conversation right after he was diagnosed. Okay, let me back up. Because we could not get him diagnosed all through the years. Yeah.
So we're talking about why you think
it was a blessing.
It was a blessing.
And again, I am talking only about Ellis. I am not saying that how we've done things is the way to go about things. And if your life has unfolded in a different way, well then you're so unlucky and screwed because your life is not mine. That is not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying for us, it was a blessing because we could not get him diagnosed. The insurance would not pay for speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, none of these therapies. But I always wanted to go into the medical field. I've always been fascinated by anything to do with the medical field. I'm such a geek. For fun, sometimes I read medical journals. It's just fascinating to me.
Yeah, I know.
Mother taught us to love learning. And that's my favorite area to learn in, is medical. So when I'm seeing that my child is struggling, there were also exercises that we did with him to help him not toe walk and to help him remember to swallow his spit so that he's not just drilling everywhere. Guys, you don't have to tiptoe. You're so
Y'all could, the babies have been screaming the whole time. You're good. I mean, the twins, they're not babies
So I
anymore.
can start screaming all the time?
No.
That gives me free permission to start singing.
No. Filter. That's another one of our one-word reminders.
Filter.
Filter.
Yep.
Because
I think that's a teenage boy thing too.
One word isms from Kim.
Yep. We could do a whole blog post.
It's like a short
just on one word isms.
Yeah. Here's the thing. When you're teaching a kid something, you want to keep your instructions short and to the point and
Keep it simple.
the KISS rule. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yep.
So
Parenting wisdom from Kim.
the way I taught him, trained him, was what I was going to say. I know he's not a dog, but just me saying these one-word things like filter. That is related to and prompts a filtering response in him. To, hang on, let me think this through.
Yeah.
Would Mom, not do I think it would offend other people, but does Mom
What would
think
Mom think?
it would offend other people?
Yeah.
And so that's why I do the one word things, is because I want it to be something that he starts to do on his own. Because like with toes, I haven't had to say toes in 10 years because eventually it became natural and automatic for him to do it himself.
Yeah. Right.
I don't have to tell him to shut the door when he comes in from outside anymore because door. He eventually got to where he did that himself, self-regulating. Anyway, because we couldn't get him diagnosed, we couldn't get him all of these professional therapies that the insurance would pay for. And so I bought the books and read the books on the latest theories and the latest therapies, everything. As absolute much of it as we could do at home, we did. So did he have occupational therapy? Well, if you look at his medical record, it will say no.
Yeah.
But we very much did. If you look, did he do physical therapy? No. But we very much did. Speech, same thing. We didn't have the diagnosis, which means he and I did all of these therapies together, and I pushed him. I pushed both my boys. Okay? I'm not saying I expected perfection. I never demanded perfection.
We expected their best.
Not every child is a book learner. Not every child is going to give you straight A's in every subject. Not because they're lazy, but because that's just not where their strength is. So does that mean you let them get by with C's or D's? Well, you know what? If that's the absolute best that they can, absolutely. You cannot demand perfection. It's not possible. What we pushed both of our boys for is, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing well. And don't half-ass your way through life. It's a work ethic. Whether you're talking about school, whether you're talking about mowing the grass, no matter making your bed, putting your laundry in the hamper. Don't throw it at the hamper. Put it in the hamper. Some battles you're going to win, some not so much.
Every little victory is a big deal too when you finally get there.
And just because you haven't won the battle yet doesn't mean you quit fighting. But we've always pushed our boys further than they thought they could go to do better than they thought they could do. And I'm not talking about we didn't like berate them, or it was more, you know what? I know that you're tired. I'm tired too. We've been at this for a while. I want you to try one more time. I want you to absolutely do 100% the very best that you can do, and then we'll stop for the day. We'll move on to something else, or we'll, you know, school will be done or whatever. I'm just talking about that kind of thing. You know what? You've worked hard today. You know, just recognizing the effort they've already put into it, asking for one last push, which is one more push than they think they can give. Okay, you know what? Your reward is we're done.
And we can walk away from it.
We can walk away from it. We can do something else, or you can have a break. You know, we take a break or whatever. Chrissy pointed out the observation that if he had been diagnosed much earlier, I might not have pushed him as hard, because in my mind I would have been like, oh, but he's autistic.
Right.
I don't know that his best is going to be as good as it could. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how much he's capable of. And so I'm just not going to push him too hard.
Right. You and Scott both have a pretty good sense of how hard to push him and Brendan to reach their potential.
I think so, but of course I'm talking about myself and what a good job I've done as a mother. So let's just be real. It's all about knowing your kids.
Yes.
And I think that's another advantage that I've had in homeschooling my kids. You're with them 24/7, for good or for bad. The good is you know them. You know their struggles because you're with them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The bad is they never are away from you. Always there.
Yeah. That's what you felt called to do.
It is
and
what
y'all did it.
You know what? I knew when I was pregnant with Brendan.
That you were going to homeschool.
We talked, and that was when homeschoolers across the country, the feeling was, you're crazy if you're homeschooled.
I know, because
You must
homeschool's
be
come a long
nuts.
way too. Yeah.
I mean, that was Brendan will be 27.
Yeah.
Brendan just turned
Goodness
27.
gracious.
So, I mean, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. But I think you're right, because you were speech, OT, PT, special ed. You figured out a way to get around the obstacles in whatever subject y'all were studying.
Precisely.
The emotional stuff that y'all dealt with, learning how to teach him how to filter things if he needed to filter. I mean, like, all of the things.
And sometimes not.
Right. I mean, it's a work in but we're all a work in progress.
Absolutely.
Not just, I mean, neurotypical people are also a work in progress. We're all at different levels,
Hello.
emotionally, physically, spiritually, all the things. So I told my brother this a long time ago, because he had their daughter is very strong-willed, very smart.
Right.
And I just told him, y'all have who you're supposed to have. You have the kid you're supposed to have. I have to preach that to myself sometimes. And it's the same with you.
Yeah.
You have the kid that God gave that kid to you for a reason, and you're bright. And with the Lord's help,
Absolutely.
you accomplished it.
Absolutely.
You understood. I mean, I watched you on how to do stuff. Like, I watched you and Chrissy,
Right.
because y'all were ahead of me.
We
and
were, yeah.
you know,
In
when you
life.
sit down and reasonably say, give me one more time.
Right.
See what you can do one more time, and then we'll walk away. You were teaching him how to push one more time and work a little bit harder, and then give yourself a break. I mean, I learned that watching y'all parent
Right.
your kids. I was raised different, and, you know, maybe my mother emotionally didn't always get it. I learned a good emotional balance from watching y'all, and I think you gave that to Ellis.
I hope so.
You know, you've
I hope so.
helped him reach a good potential. He's still got a ways to go, but everybody does.
Well, and he's only 19.
And he's only 19.
I mean, at some
right.
points I'm like, oh my gosh,
And
he's
now-
already 19. But
At age 16, you finally have a diagnosis, and now if there's resources that you need to get a hold of.
That was another God's providence kind of thing. Because he's ADHD, the medication obviously is a controlled substance. And our insurance company changed the way they did things so that this pediatrician, there was a nurse practitioner that's all that she did was ADHD.
Oh, nice.
And all that kind of stuff. And her granddaughter was ADHD. And so she really
She really was emotionally invested. Right.
she was not an over medicator. She was not one to write a prescription for everything and just throw pills at you. Yeah. But she did take her job very seriously, and she was fantastic. And then our insurance changed. It couldn't be a pediatrician's office. It had to be a psychiatric office that wrote the prescriptions.
Right.
So, okay, now
It's a headache, yeah.
The hunt is on.
Now the
Yes,
hunt is
I know,
on.
because then how you going to get in with a psychiatrist when it's going to take a 9-month waiting list or whatever?
Well, see, none of that didn't even enter my head. I want a male psychiatrist because in talking deeply, most of the time he feels most comfortable talking to males.
Yeah.
It's just the way he is.
Yeah.
So it needs to be a guy. It needs to be because of our faith and because you're tinkering with my kid's brain. I want it to be someone who shares our values.
Yeah.
I wanted a Christian
Yeah.
man who also took our insurance, who also
The list
specialized
is narrowing.
and like you're narrowing the possibilities. Who also specializes in teenagers, who also deals with people who are autistic. There was one man in Birmingham who ticked all the boxes, and we were able to get in right away. About like the next week. I think it helped that he was moving from a group practice and opening his own practice.
Okay.
Some of his patients from the group practice went with him. Like, God was good to us. And so we went in again for basically an interview appointment because, again, this guy could potentially be tinkering with my kid's brain and his thinking.
Yeah.
And I want to know
Yeah.
who he is, if I can trust him with my child or not. We had an hour-long appointment. We were about 45 minutes into it. And there was a natural pause in the conversation. And he said, has anybody ever mentioned the possibility that Ellis might be autistic? And I was like, yes! And he was very taken aback because I literally was like, yeah! And he was like, okay. And Ellis started to cry.
That is a big deal.
That is a very big deal.
Dang.
Another part of the reason that we were there to see him, the Strattera that he had been on for several years, he was at not a really high dose.
Right?
In addition to the insurance requiring it, our pediatrician had recommended that he see a psychiatrist because he had started to hallucinate.
Okay.
They were only visual hallucinations. There were no auditory.
What kind of visual hallucination?
Like he would see people who weren't there.
Was the Strattera causing it?
And we met
Oh my
with Dr.
goodness. I didn't know it had that side effect. Is it long-term use?
Well, they don't know.
Oh
It's
my
not
goodness.
a reported side effect.
Is it a newer drug?
Strattera, yeah, I mean, as compared to like Ritalin and Adderall that
Yeah.
have been around for, 30
Probably
years or
30
whatever.
years.
Strattera's been around, I don't think there's a generic of it yet, so it's been around for maybe 10 years.
I don't
something
think
like
there is a
that.
generic. I don't remember one.
Well, there wasn't when he was taking it. I don't know that.
Okay.
His psychiatrist was like, okay, so here's what we're going to do. He said, he had asked Ella, the vast majority of the appointment was Ellis and the doctor interacting and answering questions and just talking. And he said, okay, what the hallucinations would ordinarily suggest to me would be schizophrenia. But in interacting with you,
I know, right?
I don't see any of the
I know.
paranoia. I don't see, he starts naming off all these things that he doesn't see in Ellis. He said,
It's
I really don't think
literally
it's
just visual hallucinations.
just visual hallucinations.
And nothing auditory.
Nope.
So strange.
And he said, what ADHD medication are you on again? And he's looking through the file, and Ellis told him, and he said, okay. He said, we could send you for a lot of scans and look for like a brain tumor or whatever. He said, I think the easiest thing to do first is let's wean you off the Strattera and let's just see what happens with these hallucinations.
Yeah.
We'll know within a couple of weeks if it's just,
Was he seeing them constantly?
fairly frequently. Like it wasn't a 24 hours a day thing, but they would happen in like episodes. Like it was very bizarre.
Yeah.
And he came off the Strattera,
Did they go away?
completely went away.
Okay.
He's never had another one since. What the doctor told us is that he said, I feel like because he'd been on the Strattera for a while, for some people, some medications after long-term use can create toxic brain chemistry, a toxic brain environment.
Okay.
And your brain begins to react to that. And one of the ways his brain reacted to that
Interesting.
was
These visual hallucinations.
visual hallucinations with no auditory element.
So strange.
Never had another one. But when he said, you're not schizophrenic. Has anyone ever mentioned autism?
Okay.
And the possibility of him being autistic? And then Ellis started to cry, and I was practically doing a victory dance in my
Yeah.
seat. And he was like, okay, I'm going to need to know the story behind this.
You're like, how much time do you
I
have?
was like, and then I started to get a little bit teary, and I was like, I told him, I said, I have suspected since he was less than a year old that there was a possibility that he was autistic. And the older he got, the more convinced I was. I haven't been able to get anyone to listen to me.
Okay, friends, if you have enjoyed the collaborative interview with Kim Poston, be sure to click that like button. If you're interested in seeing more of EllisFamLife, #AutisticTwins, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Click the bell to ring notifications for videos that I release on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. If you know of someone who needs to meet us or needs to hear our story or needs to build community because they're alone in the autism world, then share this video with them and get our message out there. Head on over to Facebook and like us on EllisFamLife #AutisticTwins and on Instagram EllisFamLife _AutisticTwins. We also have a CBD page. If you're interested in knowing more about our use of CBD with our twins Alex and Will, then see us on Facebook at EllisFamLife #AutisticTwins CBD VIP. And I look forward to seeing you in all of those places. And thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this interview. Stay tuned for next week for the next part. And as always, I look forward to next time.